Marijuana. There are a lot of states legalizing marijuana for personal consumption. Is it a crime at the federal level to possess marijuana?
Marijuana is still a criminal substance under federal law, and it is still a crime not only to possess but to distribute. Under federal law.
Under the doctrine of preemption, would the federal law preempt states who are trying to legalize the substance?
Senator, I think you raised very important questions about the relation of the federal criminal system with the states and their ability to regulate criminal law that they also have, because as there is concurrent jurisdiction, and in terms of matters in which citizens of various states have voted. With respect to the marijuana enforcement laws, it is still the policy of the administration, and certainly would be my policy, if confirmed as Attorney General, to continue enforcing the marijuana laws, particularly with respect to the money laundering aspect of it, where we see the evidence that marijuana, as I've noticed in cases in my own district, brings with it not only organized crime activity, but great levels of violence.
A pair of newly filed bills could make cannabis legal here in Texas, but only for medical use. Fort Worth Representative Stephanie Click is the author of one of the bills that would allow the use of ingredients from the hemp plant. Dispensaries would have to register with the state. While lawmakers in Austin sort out that, one cannabis company is already setting up shop here in North Texas. Steve Pickett live off Mockingbird and I-35 in Dallas with details of the legality of all of this. That's the first question, I guess, Steve.
There's no question this is legal because we're not talking about marijuana use. These folks like to be a little close to the medical marijuana category, but that's not what this is. You mentioned it earlier, Doug. We're talking about cannabis and particularly hemp oil. And one particular family here says it is working for them.
I think this product could benefit a lot of kids that have seizures.
Penny Howard and baby girl Harper still have hills to climb. Harper's developmental disabilities are partnered with seizures. Her answer for her child's ailment, an oil from the plant known best for marijuana.
We found real scientific hemp oil from hemp meds. And it's a supplement, and it's an alternative to medical marijuana. So we said, okay, and it's legal in all 50 states and 40 countries.
The legal cannabis hemp oil Harper relies on is also a listed ingredient in a series of skin and health products promoted today by a company opening up offices in Dallas.
Cannabis has arrived in Dallas. It is correct, absolutely.
The plan centers on this firm to benefit from growing interest in cannabis as a cure and healer, but staying away from the medical marijuana category. And a 4-year-old child using cannabis oil is the example offered today. Again, if you look at the distinction between hemp and marijuana, we're talking THC. THC levels in marijuana makes it illegal, can get you high. That's just the opposite in hemp, and that part of the cannabis plant is that oil is coming from putting into the category for this particular product now being marketed here in Dallas. Reporting live, Steve Pickett, CBS 11 News.
Steve, do you know of Michelle Leonhardt, the DEA administrator? I don't know if I said her name right.
She is the administrator of the Drug Enforcement Administration.
Have you ever had a discussion with her about her views of legalizing marijuana?
Michelle and I have not had that discussion, although we have spoken on any number of other
issues. Could you maybe have that discussion and report back to me as to what the results were?
Certainly, Senator. I look forward to speaking to not just Ms. Leonhardt, but with you on this issue.
My name is Dean Pitcanis. I'm the chairman and CEO of Canna Life Sciences. We are currently the holders of an exclusive license with National Institutes of Health for the 507 patent known as cannabinoids as antioxidants and neuroprotectants. The opportunity to work with a network marketing company, Lifestyle Network, was very appealing for us to involve ourselves scientifically and also to develop products for sale and through the network. So we had recently signed a 5-year deal with Canaway that will involve ourselves as product specialists for standardization, quality control, quality assurance. And that's how we began the process of working with Canaway. The first thing that comes to mind is like an acronym called DIAL, like dial into success. And I'm really excited about being involved with Canaway and being part of their advisory board because it embodies dedication It involves, you know, a really strong attitude, a loyalty factor, and you know, integrity is the eye in the dial, which is really important. And I think that our aim is to make products that embody that. I'm really excited about being part of the advisory board. I think the competencies of the science behind what we're doing and the effort that's being put forth really you know, makes some very nice partnership between the companies. So it's a real opportunity for us to be involved in a very big way.
In August 29, 2013, I think Deputy Attorney General James M. Cole advised all U.S. attorneys that enforcing marijuana laws against those that are in compliance with state marijuana laws would not be a priority of the DOJ. Did you get that memo?
All U.S. attorneys received that memo, as did I.
Do you think that is a good policy?
I believe that the Deputy Attorney General's policy seeks to try and work with state systems that have chosen to take, admittedly, a different approach from the federal government with respect to marijuana, and determine the most effective way to still pursue marijuana cases consistent with the states and the choices that they have made. The Deputy Attorney General's policy, as I understood it and has been implemented, still requires federal prosecutors to seek prosecution of marijuana cases, particularly where we have situations where children are at risk, where marijuana is crossing state lines, particularly where you have marijuana being trafficked from a state that has chosen a legal framework into a state that has not chosen a legal framework, and the attendant harms therein, as well as those who are driving under the influence of this. A great concern, certainly within the department and those of us who are looking at these issues, is the availability of the edible products and the risk of those falling into the hands of children and causing great harm there.
If a state is intending to try to legalize personal consumption at a small level of marijuana, what would your advice be to that state?
Well, certainly I'm not sure that if a state were to reach out to the department for its views, and I don't know if that's happened or what advice has been given, but certainly I believe the department would have an obligation to inform them of the current federal status of narcotics laws and the department's position that the federal narcotics laws will still be enforced by the Department of Justice.
There's been a total of 61 concussions so far this NFL season, and while public frustration grows, players need treatment.
You're always smashing heads into one another, and so you're getting dizzy on a constant basis. You're seeing stars every day. Sometimes you're depressed, sometimes you're moody, sometimes you have headaches, and that's a reality of the game.
NFL doctors use opiates to dull the pain, but many players say those drugs are doing more harm than good.
It's a serious epidemic thing, just as bad as crack or heroin, you know, and I think medical marijuana could be an alternative.
Former NFL player Tank Johnson says a majority of players are already smoking weed.
70–80%. I mean, I hate to say that as if it's a bad thing.
So it's clear NFL players will get concussions, and a good number will self-medicate. Dr. Lester Grinspoon says they're onto something. A certain part of marijuana can be an effective treatment for head injuries.
We are now pretty confident that cannabis, marijuana, has as a medicine some qualities about it which make it clear that it is neuroprotective.
And as the effects of CTE only become scarier, treatments that challenge the status quo are starting to be heard.
We've talked a lot about CBD, a strain of marijuana used to treat children with seizures. It's now being used in a product called Canalife, an experimental drug that has been hailed as treatment for head injuries. We're now joined by Dean Petkanis and Marvin Washington. Mr. Petkanis is the CEO of Canalife, and Marvin Washington is a former NFL player who's now a spokesperson for the company. I want to welcome both of you to the show. And Marvin, I want to start with you. As I said, you're a former NFL player, and you've said that many players are on pot, but you've said that 100% of players are using pharmaceuticals. Walk me through what the doctors in the NFL prescribed to you when you were playing ball.
Well, not only just prescribed to me, but they're prescribing to everybody just to get through the NFL season. You're talking about anti-inflammatories from your naproxen, your Indocin, to your opiates that, you know, block the pain, which is a Toradol shot that you get before the game. And then after the game, all the painkillers. And sometimes you're taking the painkillers during the week, and you take the anti-inflammatory during the week. So you're on a seven-day regimen of pharmaceuticals. And we wasn't educated enough to know about some of the damage that it does to your liver and kidneys, and I still don't think they're telling players that, but some players are opting out and looking for alternative medicine.
And of course, the dependency that comes with that kind of a cocktail. Now, Dean, what is Canalife in essence? Can it fill this void?
Well, we're working towards a research and development pact right now where we had first started looking at cognitive impairment design through hepatic encephalopathy, which is a disease that we targeted. It's a form of brain liver disease. We think that neuroprotection could be afforded in our R&D that we started in that pathology and cross over into CTE, which is also neurodegenerative. So we think that there's some good parallels there to start with, and we're zeroing in on a drug that we can bring to the marketplace. Hopefully in mid-2015 we could file an investigational new drug application with the FDA.
So in layman's terms, let me just rephrase this so you can help me understand. This
Surely.
is a drug that contains weed, or THC, if you will, that will help treat the disease that comes from concussions?
Well, let me take you a step back. There's a bunch of chemicals inside the plant, THC being one of them, and we're not really looking at that model. We're looking at the cannabidiol model, which is CBD. And CBD is a constituent of marijuana and hemp in the natural form, and it can be synthesized and it can be used in either a prophylactic type of drug where you have some low-grade milligram dosage that could be taken over time to protect athletes if it is truly the neuroprotectant we think it is. And in severely acute injuries or concussive injuries, maybe a pharmaceutical drug that can be derived that's much more potent. So we're working on both sides of the panel, both on the natural side and on the synthetic side, but we're looking specifically at cannabidiol and cannabidiol-like molecules.
Now, Dean, you mentioned the FDA. So how would you get this FDA approved if marijuana is still federally a Schedule I drug?
Well, you've had in the past instances like Marinol, which is a THC synthetic that was developed in 1986 for wasting or patients that suffer from AIDS. They needed appetite improvement, and so Marinol was used in that capacity. It was called dronabinol, and it was rescheduled by the DEA in order to allow it to get through the FDA for approval process for use of medical use. So you can get a rescheduling of a particular drug in the event that the FDA sees through the clinical side of the review process and it's deemed safe for human consumption. Now, something to really focus in on is that cannabidiol is not psychotropic or psychotoxic, whereas THC binds to the CB1 receptor, causes a psychotropic high. Cannabidiol does not do that, and therefore is a constituent of marijuana and hemp that doesn't form any psychotoxicity.
But I want to get Marvin in here because, Marvin, you've dealt with the NFL's harsh stance on weed. You've been very critical of that. Do you think that Canalife stands a chance at changing that?
Of course. I wouldn't be doing this if I didn't think we had a chance, because one of the things that Dean said, like CBD has no psychoactive effects, and there needs to be made a distinction between the THC recreational side and the CBD, which is the medical side, and that's what we're focusing on. And if it comes to fruition, this is going to make the NFL game safer. It's going to make the game safer for everybody that plays a contact sport, not only in the NFL, but in hockey, UFC boxing, lacrosse, soccer, whatever it is, a contact sport is going to make it safer. And so you can have a 12-year-old girl in Iowa take it, and a 27-year-old professional football player take it, and it's going to do the same thing. It's going to act as a neuroprotectant for the brain, and it has no psychoactive effects.
Now, Marvin, you have close ties still to the NFL. Have you talked to them about Canalife?
No, I haven't, not as of yet. This thing is in its infancy, and so I want to get the science built up, get some proof of concept, and some peer review papers out, and then we're going to definitely approach the NFL about this, because the NFL right now, they're saying that they're following the science, but I believe, and the medical community believes, the NFL needs to lead the science, because when they get behind something, they can move the needle.
Thank you so much, Marvin and Dean. At least we're talking about alternatives to these pharmaceuticals. We'll be sure to follow Canal Life's progress as it develops.